You think the problem is that you're too intense, too loyal, too real for this generation, but that's not it. The truth is simpler and harder than that. You keep speaking wolf to people who only understand dolphin. You come with depth, pressure, devotion, instinct. You think force equals honesty. You think if you feel it strongly enough, explain it clearly enough, prove it consistently enough, eventually she'll understand what you mean, but she won't. Not because you're profound, not because she's shallow, because you are trying to create resonance where there is no shared language. And if you don't learn that now, you will waste years calling confusion connection. Not that when saying when now. If you need reminders like this, if you need truth when your feelings get louder than your judgment, subscribe, because some days you do not need motivation, you need correction. You need somebody to tell you the truth before your loneliness turns into another bad decision. Here's what it really means when you speak wolf, but she speaks dolphin. It means you are operating from one emotional reality while expecting understanding from another. It means you think intensity is evidence. It means you mistake your capacity to feel deeply for compatibility. It means you keep trying to translate your value through effort, through over-explaining, through patience, through pain, through proving when the real message was already clear. The wrong person does not become right because you suffer well. That's called misalignment. And most men never call it that. They call it chemistry. They call it history. They call it complicated. They call it timing. They call it she's just been hurt. Nen, you know that you don't yell. They call it if I stay solid, she'll see. No. Stop dressing a mismatch in poetic language. Stop calling a dead signal mysterious. Stop romanticizing the thing that is starving you. You think she just needs more reassurance. But sometimes reassurance is not the issue. You think one more conversation will fix it. But sometimes the conversation has already happened 100 times in 100 forms. You think the bond is real because the emotions are real. But emotion is not proof. Emotion is not direction. Emotion is not destiny. A fire is real too. That doesn't mean you should live in it. The hard truth is this: not everybody can meet you where you stand. Not everybody deserves access to your depth. Not everybody who likes your presence is built for your reality. And if you keep trying to make yourself understandable to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, you will start abandoning yourself in the name of being loved. That's the real danger, not rejection, self-betrayal. Because look what happens. You stop trusting your own read on people. You stop honoring your own boundaries. You stop saying, this doesn't work for me, and start saying, maybe I'm asking for too much. You stop protecting your peace. You stop protecting your time. You stop protecting your standards. You become flexible in all the places where your spine was supposed to hold. And why does it happen? Root cause. Go there. Because most of what you call love is actually hunger wearing a better outfit. You are not just trying to connect. You are trying to be chosen. You are trying to finally get the response you didn't get before. You are trying to turn a maybe into a yes so you can feel like enough. You are trying to heal old rejection with new obsession. That's why you stay too long. That's why mixed signals hit you like prophecy. That's why a little attention feels enormous. It is not just about her. It is about the part of you that still believes your worth rises when someone difficult finally approves of you. That's called emotional bargaining. You say, I just care deeply. Maybe. But maybe you are negotiating with your dignity. Maybe you are offering loyalty in exchange for clarity. Maybe you are offering patience in exchange for consistency. Maybe you are offering your entire nervous system in exchange for crumbs. And then you call yourself strong because you can endure what should have disqualified the situation in the first place. Listen carefully. Endurance is not always strength. Sometimes endurance is just delayed self-respect. You want to know what it costs? It costs your focus. It costs your sleep. It costs your appetite for your own life. It costs your ambition because your mind is consumed by emotional static. It costs your confidence because now you're measuring yourself by someone else's inconsistency. It costs your masculine core because instead of moving through life with direction, you are orbiting a person, waiting, analyzing, hoping, decoding, reacting. And a man who is always reacting is no longer leading his life. This is where men get lost, not in heartbreak. in interpretation, in fantasy, in the private courtroom inside their head, where every text, every delay, every look, every soft moment becomes evidence that the case is still alive. You do not need more evidence. You need a verdict. If it drains you more than it grounds you, that is your verdict. If you have to perform for basic care, that is your verdict. If your presence is clear, but her intentions are fog, that is your verdict. If you keep asking, what does this mean? Long after a healthy bond would have made you feel safe, that is your verdict. Reality is not cruel. Reality is clean. Fantasy is what drags it out. Then not to wanity. And this is the reframe that changes everything. The goal is not to get better at being understood by the wrong person. The goal is to become so rooted in yourself that you no longer beg for translation. You no longer chase mutuality where there is only friction. You no longer confuse access with alignment. You no longer try to educate people into valuing you. You learn to read what is, not what could be, not what she said once at midnight, not what she hinted when she was lonely, not what you felt in that one perfect moment. What is, what repeats, what holds, what stands in daylight. Because truth does not need a dramatic soundtrack. Truth has patterns. Truth has consistency. Truth has peace. Now picture the man who understands this, the man who has stopped wasting himself. He is not cold. He is clear. He is not distant. He is disciplined. He is not afraid to love. He is unwilling to crawl. He does not make women the center of his identity, so he can actually meet them honestly. He does not oversell himself. He does not over-explain himself. He does not panic when someone pulls away. He notices. He adjusts. He keeps moving. He has boundaries, and they are not threats. They are structure. He has standards, and they are not ego. They are memory. He has purpose, and it is not performative. It is real. He is grounded enough to enjoy connection without needing it to validate his existence. He can desire without dissolving. He can care without collapsing. He can walk away without hating. He can stay without losing himself. That man is dangerous in the best possible way because he cannot be manipulated by ambiguity. You cannot bait him with almost. You cannot control him with inconsistency. You cannot hook him with potential. Why? Because he values peace over drama, direction over fantasy, self-respect over temporary emotional access. He knows something you need to learn. Attention is not commitment. Chemistry is not character. Being wanted in moments is not the same as being valued in reality. And once you understand that, your whole life changes. You stop chasing sparks and start watching patterns. You stop asking how to make her choose you and start asking whether this connection deserves your energy. You stop trying to win people and start learning to recognize who is already aligned. You stop performing masculinity and start embodying it. Because masculine self-respect is not loud. It does not need constant display. It is not chest beating. It is not control. It is not domination. It is the quiet refusal to abandon your standards for affection. It is the ability to remain yourself in the presence of desire. It is knowing that your loneliness is not an emergency. It is understanding that being alone for a season is far less expensive than being misaligned for years. So do this. First, stop translating disrespect into complexity. If someone is unclear for too long, believe the pattern. If someone only reaches for you when it benefits them, believe the pattern. If someone repeatedly disrupts your peace, believe the pattern. Stop auditioning for the role of most understanding man alive. You are not here to tolerate what should disqualify access to you. Second, cut off the fantasy supply. Stop rereading messages. Stop replaying old moments. Stop building futures off fragments. Stop consulting your loneliness like it's wisdom. Loneliness is loud, but it is not always intelligent. Sometimes it just wants relief. Do not let temporary emptiness choose permanent confusion. Third, redirect your energy into what returns you to yourself. Train, build, read, work, create, clean up your habits, tighten your circle, repair your schedule. Sleep better. Eat like you respect your body. Make your environment reflect the man you say you're becoming. Because a disordered life will always make emotional chaos feel more seductive than it is. Fourth, speak once, clearly, not 10 times emotionally. Once. Say what you mean. Say what you want. Say what does not work for you. Then watch, not obsess. Watch. A mature person does not need endless decoding after honest communication. Their actions will answer. Their consistency will answer. Their absence will answer. Fifth, if the answer is misalignment, leave with your dignity still attached. No speeches. Are all fi. No revenge. No dramatic exit to prove your pain. Just the clean movement of a man who understands that closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is the moment you stop volunteering for confusion. And if that sounds harsh, good. Because softness without structure is how you got trapped. You have spent enough time thinking pain means depth. Enough time thinking chasing means caring. Enough time thinking waiting means loyalty. No. Pain can mean incompatibility. Chasing can mean insecurity. Waiting can mean fear. Call things what they are. That's how you get free. And understand this too. The deeper issue is not that she speaks a different language. The deeper issue is that you keep trying to earn fluency instead of accepting difference. Some people are built for noise, novelty, games, surface. Some people are built for steadiness, truth, gravity, purpose. Neither category needs to be demonized, but they do need to be recognized. The mistake is not that they exist. The mistake is thinking your hunger can turn difference into destiny. It can't. You do not need to hate her. You do not need to hate yourself. You need to wake up. You need to stop making emotional exceptions where your values should be law. You need to stop asking, how do I make this work? Before asking, is this even worthy of my life? Because that is the real currency here. Your life, your attention, your nervous system, your years. Your becoming. Every confused attachment takes a tax. It slows your mission. It weakens your posture. It divides your mind. It teaches you to live in reaction. And the man you could become, the man with peace in his chest, purpose in his stride, standards in his choices, he keeps getting delayed by your inability to release what does not fit. So release it. Release the need to be chosen by the unavailable. Release the need to explain yourself to the committedly confused. Release the need to prove your worth through suffering. Release the fantasy that one more effort will turn mismatch into union. Release the version of you that thinks love is earned by enduring disrespect with a calm voice. You were not built for that. You were built to stand, to discern, to lead yourself, to offer depth where there is depth, honesty where there is honesty, commitment where there is mutuality. And when those things are absent, you were built to leave without negotiating your value. That is power, not the power to control someone else. The power to remain yours. The world does not need more men who can recite standards and betray them in private. It needs more men who can feel deeply without becoming weak in judgment. Men who can desire a woman and still tell the truth. Men who do not confuse emotional intensity with spiritual significance. Men who can say, this is not for me, and mean it. Men whose self-respect is not rented out every time attraction enters the room. Be that man. Not tomorrow. Now. Let this be the day you stop speaking from desperation and start moving from clarity. Let this be the day you stop chasing understanding from people who benefit from your confusion. Let this be the day you return to your own center so completely that anything misaligned becomes obvious, not intoxicating. Because once you're rooted, the game changes. You no longer fear losing what was never stable. You no longer beg for what cannot nourish you. You no longer interpret every emotional spike as destiny. You become harder to fool because you are no longer trying to be saved by love. You are no longer asking another person to complete a sentence your discipline should have finished. And here is the final truth. You keep looking out there for the answer, the sign, the person, the perfect response that will settle your chest and organize your mind. But the answer is not out there. You are the answer. Your standards are the answer. Your discipline is the answer. Your boundaries are the answer. Your willingness to face reality is the answer. Your refusal to abandon yourself for affection is the answer. That is where your peace begins. That is where your power returns. That is where your identity resets. Not as the man who almost got chosen, not as the man who loved harder than he was loved, not as the man who can explain every wound in perfect detail, but as the man who finally chose himself without apology. So stand up straight, clean your mind out, tell the truth, cut the fantasy. Protect your name. Protect your energy, protect your future, and walk like a man who understands that self-respect is not a mood. It is a lifestyle. If you want more truth like this, subscribe. So when your emotions start lying to you again, you've got a place that tells you the truth without dressing it up. And if you're building that kind of life, clearer, stronger, more grounded, you're not alone here. You're with people who are done begging for confusion and ready to become impossible to shake. Belasain ay anaumenai